All right, so we have our football field. On this football field, we have some points, we have some lines, we have some planes. The players on the field are represented by dots. Those will be your points. I know it's kind of hard because our ink's there, so that first line that has the blank there, those will be an example of a point in the real world. Technically, it's hard to say exactly where points are, so that's why we put dots to represent them. The yard lines would represent lines. Again, they're technically line segments because lines go on and on forever. Line segments have stopping and ending points. And then the whole entire football field would be a plane. Okay, so today we're looking at points, lines, and planes. The goal by the end of today's lesson is you should be able to recognize the difference between the three of them, which hopefully you already do. You should be able to name them, which is probably the biggest thing that I want you to be able to focus on in class today. Oops, did the plane not come up there? There it is. Being able to name them is probably going to be the newer concept that's going to be coming to you guys. So identify what they are, be able to name them, and then look at specific types. So what is a point? Again, this is kind of just like this is not an official definition. I didn't pull this from a textbook. This is just my definition. You are not going to have to do vocabulary word quizzes or anything like that. So if I say, what's a point? You should be able to say what a point is. So a point doesn't have any dimension to it. Like, you can't measure a point. But because it doesn't have any dimension, we don't really know exactly where it is located. We use a dot to represent what a point is, right? So we always put a dot. So when we do our drawing of a point, we just make a little dot. And then usually with that dot, we attach some letter. I'm going to be generic. I'm going to go with A. Excuse me. And then when we go to name it, we're going to call it point A. Got a tickle in my throat. Okay. So we could have point B. We could have point C. We could have point D, and so forth. All right, points. Easy, no questions about that. Next up, let's get to a line. A line, again, not really a full definition, just so you know what a line is. So a line is represented by a line with two arrows. So if we were making an image of a line, it would be represented by a line with two arrows. And you need a minimum of 2 points to make a line. Okay, so it's represented by a line with two arrows, and you need 2 points to make a line. So a line does have dimension. It has dimensions one way. It goes to the right, to the left, up, or down. So if I were to make a picture of a line, I would have a line with two arrows. And you need to have a minimum of 2 points. So I'm going to put 2 dots on that line for that line. Try to be generic again. I'm going to go with A and B. Let's name those points point A, point B. So now, if I wanted to name that line, it's not as easy as just writing out point line. So in geometry, we try to use a lot of shorthanded notation, so we don't have to write out a whole lot of stuff. So what you can do is you can take the 2 points that are on the line and put this up top because there's a few things we're going to be putting here. So I can take those 2 letters, A, B, and I'm going to put some type of symbol above to designate that it is a line. And that symbol in this case happens to be a line with 2 arrows above it. So I would read this as line A, B. Now order does not matter. So maybe over here you want to write down order doesn't matter for lines. Because I could also call that line BA. So if I start at A, go through B, or start at B and go through A, I'm going to get the same line. Okay. Now there's a third way that you can name a line. Sometimes you'll see a lowercase letter that's italicized. Now it's hard to kind of make italicized letters yourself without putting italicized in the document. So I'm going to put a little M there and kind of curl it a little bit to make it look different. Sometimes you'll see an italicized lowercase letter hovering above one of the arrows of your line. This is not a point. It does not have a dot attached to it. Okay? If that is the case, then we can write out the word line M. So there's three ways to name this line. We got line AB, line BA, or line M that has that. If that line had 4 points on it, so let's do this. Let's add a third point. Let's put a C in the middle. I could call it line BC. Or I could call it line AC. Always, always, always only use 2 letters. Just because there's lots of points on the line doesn't mean you should use all of them. So you just pick any 2 letters from the line. Okay? Or it could be line BC, or it could be line CA. All right, so we've got our points, we got our lines. Now let's go to our plane. So when we're talking about a plane, it's going to be represented by a shape that looks like a floor. Usually we use a parallelogram for that. You need 2 points to make a line. You need 3 points to make a plane. I was going to do this with my iPad, but that probably would not be very good. So if I think about the bottom of this textbook being my plane, right? If I tried to balance it between 2 points, so 2 fingers, that's going to be kind of hard to do, right? Maybe I can do it. Not. If I make a third point, it makes it a little bit easier, doesn't it? Yeah. If I add in a 4th point, a little bit easier with 5, right? So you need a minimum of 3 points to make a plane. You can't do it with just 2. Reason being, if you think about a plane goes this way, but it also goes this way if I look at the ceiling. Okay, a line only goes this way. So you need that 3rd point to get your second direction in. Okay, so if we do our drawing for a plane, let's make a parallelogram. Now we've got a bunch of ways to name a plane. Again, it's the naming part that's the important part. So 3 points inside that plane. Put 3 dots. Name them A, B, C. So to name that plane, I'm going to write out the word plane. And then I'm going to put those 3 points, doesn't matter what order, following suit. So plane ABC. Or plane CAB. Doesn't matter the order. Okay, so again, order doesn't matter. And only use 3 points or 3 letters. If I added a 4th point on there, I wouldn't then list all 4 of them, just like with the line. If I added a 5th point on there, I wouldn't then just list all 5 of them. I would just pick 3 out of the 5. Does that make sense? I'm saying this because people will do it. Don't let it be you. Don't just be like, oh, I'm going to list everything because it's there. Now, just like in a line, we had that little italicized M. Sometimes in a plane, you'll see a capitalized and a very bold letter in one of the corners. Let's kind of put a bold M in one of your corners. Again, the difference between this capital M and the capital A, B, and C is the A, B, and C have dots associated with them. The M does not. So then I could just call it plane M. Okay? So all the different ways to name a point, a line, and a plane. Questions with any of that? All right, so now let's talk about specific types of points. So we've got collinear points and we've got coplanar points. Any guesses on what you think a collinear point would be? Samson?
Would it be just two lines that are parallel?
Ooh, parallel. Okay, well, we're talking about points, but I do like how you picked out this word, line. Ava, what do you think? Yeah, so it's going to be points that all are on the same line. So collinear are points that lie on the same line. Guesses on coplanar? Points that lie on the same plane, yeah. Points that lie on the same plane. Okay, so collinear points would be points that all lie on the same line. Coplanar points would be points that lie on the same plane. Very good. All right, so on the back, let's do some actual examples now. So now we got our vocabulary down. We should hopefully be okay with naming them. So let's roll through this diagram. So give two other names for line PQ. What's one thing we could do the line PQ? Where is line PQ? Right here? First, I could just flip it, right? Because order doesn't matter. So we could call it line QP. Are there any other points on line PQ? Nope, I don't see any other dots. So what are you thinking, Samson?
You could say plane N, line N.
Line N, good. So I do see that we have this little N up here without a dot associated with it. So that means we could just call it line N. Good. All right, so that's two names for line PQ. Now what's another way to name the plane? So the plane. So they chose the easy one. That was nice. So plane R is this plane right here. I just need 3 points. Adam, give me 3 points. What are you going with? P, what'd you go with? VSP? All right, we'll go with that. They all kind of sound the same. Plane VSP would work. I like how, even though there were 4 points, Adam just picked 3. Someone give me another combo. Aiden, give me another combo.
Plane ESP.
Sure. Plane. You went what? PSV? PSV. Or we could have threw T in there. Plane SPT would work also, right? Or plane TVP. But again, only pick 3 points. Don't list all the points that are on there. Okay, so we named a line, named a plane. Should be good to go there. Now let's talk about collinear and coplanar points. What are 3 points that are all on the same line? Marley?
S, P, and T.
Good. So points S, and then I can just put commas in between these. S, comma, P, comma, T. Notice it's okay to put commas here because these are 3 different points. Do not put commas when you're naming one singular plane. Don't put commas between those 3 letters. 4 points that are coplanar. May, what do you think? Okay, thanks for making a very good mistake. Remember, R is not a point. There's no dot there.
Oh, 2.
Good. VSP. P-N-T. Maybe we should make note of that. Not a point. Don't make that mistake, because some of you will. All right, we're good there? Okay, so now let's get into parts of a line. So now we have our line that goes on and on forever. Now we're going to take chunks out of that line and create other geometric figures. Our first is a segment. So a segment is a part of a line with endpoints. So part of a line with endpoints. Yeah, just make sure you sign out and go straight directly to the bathroom. So for a line segment, we have our part of a line. We're going to put points on the end. And I'm going to use A and B again. I'm going to not be unusual. I'm going to go original. Okay, so now to name this, we're going to still use the endpoints. But now for the symbol that we put on top, I'm just going to put a line with no arrows. No arrows, okay? Because that's now telling me the difference between a line segment and a line. Does that make sense? Order, again, does not matter. It could be line segment BA. So I'm going to put a little note over here again. Order doesn't matter. I only will have two options for my endpoints. I can't just throw a third endpoint in there, then I have another segment. So you can't have other options of points in there. Okay, so this is just line segment AB or line segment BA. Those are your two options. Okay, if I took away one of those endpoints, I would then get array. So array is part of a line that only has one endpoint. So part of a line that has one endpoint. So if we create that, I have one endpoint. I'm going to put it down here. And then it goes on and on and on forever in one direction. So I'm going to put A here. And I'm going to put a second point on it, B, just because that's going to help me with the direction of it. So when I name this, I'm going to name it A, B, and then the symbol on top is going to be an arrow with a line with one arrow, otherwise known as an arrow. Okay. Some key things here. This arrow will always, should I put face or go to the right? Don't have it going to the left. If my ray goes to the left, it's just a symbol that means ray. So as always will go to the right. Don't flip it. Other important things here. Order does matter. Does matter. The endpoint always goes first. Because what this is telling me is, if I'm doing ray AB, that means I'm starting at A, going through B. If I said ray BA, then I would be starting at B, going through A, which would be a totally different ray. It would look like this. I would be starting at B and going that direction, which is a totally different ray. Okay, so order does matter on a ray. Everybody got that? All right, so then our last thing we have here is opposite rays. So opposite rays are rays that are collinear. Remember, collinear means on the same line. And have the same endpoint. So rays that are collinear and have the same endpoint. So if I put a ray over here, there's one ray. We'll call that ray AB. And then if I go in the opposite direction to create a straight line, then I would have ray AC. So opposite rays just pretty much make a line. So if I had to name them, I would say that ray AB and, now be careful here, ray AC would be opposite rays. Remember, so opposite rays will always start with the same letter because they need to have the same, I didn't write letter very good. They need to have the same endpoint. So ray AB goes this way, ray AC goes that way. Samson?
So why wouldn't AC have the arrow going the other way?
Because the arrow just always faces the right, because it's just a symbol that represents ray. It doesn't matter about the direction of it. Yeah, so just always make that go that way. It's just it's symbol notation. Okay? All right, so let's work through the last example then. I'll make sure we're good to go with all of this stuff. Oops, come back. All right, so let's give another name for line segment GH. So line segment GH is right here. We could just flip it and call it line segment HG. Again, get in the habit of using the symbol to represent the word. And then for part B, name all rays with endpoint J. All right, so we've got, starting at J, we can go up to G. So ray JG would be the way I write that. We've got GE. So ray GE. We got the one shooting down southwest. So JH. So ray JH. And then we've got the one going southeast over this direction. What is that? F. So JF. Out of those four, which ones are opposite rays? May?
F and GH.
Good. JF. Oh, just which one did you say?
E and F and G and H.
Yeah, so which rays? So out of which ones would you group together to create the opposite? So like what would be opposite of JG? JH, good. So J, let me do this in a different color. So JH, ray JH and ray JG are opposites. And then JE and JF would be opposites, right? So JE, that's my and symbol if anybody's wondering. JF. So ray JE and ray JF are opposites also. Okay. Questions with any of that? All right, we're going to do some bingo, but I don't think we have time for bingo, so I'm going to change our game plan. So put those in a safe spot where you are not going to lose them.